Ooh, that is one handsome mofo with the flames, the profile, everything, you know. It's no wonder, young Jared, that the Tim Moen Show was voted the #1 gay podcast of 2024. That's right, folks.
I mean, I like to take some of the credit.
Oh, you definitely gated up. It happened after you joined the show.
100%.
Yeah, you gated
2024,
up a lot.
2024. Young Jared's coming up. All gay.
Let me just see if I can
time.
pull this up here, because
we're drinking Bud Light. Bud Light's back. Bud Light's back. Gays podcast in Canada.
That's right. Here it is. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to share this with you. I got an email from someone congratulating me on this. I didn't know whether it was a goof at first or what, but
it is a good goof.
It's the real deal. And I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what it is that the gay community loves about my podcast. I mean, I was kind of could it be as simple as young Jared? Could it be as simple as, you know, we're a couple of beefcakes? I don't know, but here it is.
I was kind of wondering about that too, because like I wonder what the voting criteria is.
Three best Canada gay podcasts. #1, Tim Moen Show.
Really now look,
look who I beat out. I beat out Gay Men Going Deeper and the Rainbow Nation podcast. I'm gayer
than Gay Men Going Deeper.
I did not. I think it's because of how straight we are, you know.
We should collaborate. We should have a collaborate episode. We should reach out.
Well, I mean, you know, I did run on I want gay married couples to be able to protect their marijuana plants with guns. So there's that. The first video promotion I had done for me was this older lesbian couple that lived out in rural Alberta talking about how they need guns to shoot moose. And so they're voting for Moen.
There you go.
So
a couple of good votes.
I've always,
well, it just really opens up the demographic that we get to.
Well, I had no idea, audience, that you were. I mean, I accept you. I didn't expect my audience to be so gay.
Hey, welcome.
Honestly, I'm surprised by you, audience, and thank you for watching the show. And make sure you hit subscribe and click that bell button, I guess.
More the merrier. If there's anything you need covered, we'll cover it.
But now the thing is, I don't know what to do. Like, do we try to hit gay topics? Like, I've been talking mostly about how much I don't dislike government and stuff like that. I guess maybe that's what they like about the show.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I think probably they like the content for the content. So let's just keep the train rocking. Right.
Okay. We'll just keep the train rocking. I'll try not to let it go to my head. That's my promise to you.
Oh, I've been letting everybody know. Like, do you guys know?
I've definitely been using it.
How welcome
to increase my street cred out there.
How lucky you are to be sitting face to face with the co-host.
Yeah.
Of the gayest podcast in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. Oh man, what a day. What a day.
This is my 15 minutes, I tell you.
I was walking my dog today, take him to the dog park, and I have this group of old guys that I meet up with regularly, go to the dog park. But I need some advice here, because I don't know if I'm a bad person, or I don't know. I don't know how to think about this, but there's one guy in the pack, and they're sweet old guys, right? They're in their 80s. I mean, they have kids older than me, right? Yeah. And we've been walking our dog, but the one guy, you could record what he's saying and just press play over and over. Like, it's so predictable. You know exactly what he's going to say, when he's going to say it. He says the same thing about dog poop, about socializing a dog, about they're friendly. Like, I could go through, there's about 20 phrases that he uses. And like, that's all our conversations are ever. It's just him on repeat saying these same things over and over again. And I have negative judgments about it. And I don't know how to feel about that, because he's a likable guy. I should like him. I don't want to have these negative judgments. I don't want to think, but it's just like you can replace him with a very simple robot. You know what I mean?
I think you gotta give a
definition of a non-player character. What's that? Sorry,
you gotta cut him some slack. I mean, I think there's an old pass there, like an old card
Well, for sure there is. And now I need the advice I need from you is how do I not let this irritate me? Because it affects me enough that I don't take the dog to the dog park because I want to avoid.
You drive 20 minutes to go to a different one.
He's mean or anything like that. It's just like spending an hour there and listening to him, and
I mean, it kind of
you can't have a conversation with him. Like he'll ask you a question and you'll answer it, and then he'll totally ignore your answer. Talk about there's a dog pooing over there, right? And it's like, why am I like I'm just here to?
Is it clinical? Is it clinical?
No, it's not. He's just a very extroverted old guy, stuck in his ways. Has been doing it like he's a creature of routine. This is what I imagine a person who does the exact same thing over and over each day for 20 years comes to be. And Jared, I don't want to become this person. I don't want to be one of these people. It scares me. It scares me. And it scares me also to think that maybe I am one of these people already. I'm just more complicated. Like instead of just saying the same 20 phrases over and over again, I'm saying the same 200 phrases over and over again and talking about the same shit and just on repeat and just playing out some kind of programming that I'm not in control of. Maybe I'm just part of one giant simulation.
Well, I notice already, like I say the same things quite a bit. Like I'll talk whenever I'm saying something and then I have to like wrap it up. I'll say anyways, right? Or like anyways. Right. And I know that, and I like try to get rid of it. And I think as you age, you just like get more of those things going. And maybe this guy,
or maybe you stop to care less about those things, right? Like you're self-aware of them. Maybe it's just like, fuck it, whatever. I am who I am now at this point.
I'm that anyways.
Not going to try to improve or try to change myself. But here's the other thing too. I've noticed that he's one of the most happy people, right? Mm-hmm. Definitely happier than your boy here. I'm always
his life.
Fuming about something or got something festering on my mind. I woke up and looked at social media and have a rant in my brain about what Justin Trudeau just did. But old Bob, he's just talking about dog poop. Oh, they're socializing. Look at that. They're friendly dogs. Don't worry.
So my dad, I don't know if he listens or not, or I tell him to, but I'm sure he doesn't. He used to.
Oh, there he goes. He's pooping. There he goes. He's pooping. See, that's what it's like, Jared. You were just in the middle of telling me something engaging and important that you found interesting. I interrupted you to talk about the dog pooping.
I mean, anyways. I don't know. I got nothing. This is so anyways, we used to drive around. Like my dad, what he does for work, he drives around a lot and he'd bring us to work with him or he'd bring me to work with him. And, he'd talk on the phone to his old horse pal Cecil. So my dad loves horses. Oh. Cecil loves horses, but Cecil was retired. Cecil had nobody to talk to about horses. So he'd just call my dad and then he'd talk for hours and hours and hours just about horses and whatever it is, right? And then my dad at the time would be like, yeah, so this is what I do. Like Cecil wants somebody to talk to. I humor him. I just talk to him because I'm not doing shit anyways, right?
Right.
But he'd play jokes like he'd get out of the truck to check something and he'd put him on mute. And then he'd like laugh. He'd be like, and then he'd come back in, turn it off mute, and he'd just be like, yep. And then he'd put him back on mute, go back out, keep doing his thing. That's and like awesome. Lately, he's getting lonely at home too, with none of the kids at home. So he's like with the grandkids a lot, but I kind of do the same thing. Like I'll call him when I'm driving somewhere just so that he just like talks. And it's basically like listening to a podcast. And it's like you become the very thing that you swore to destroy. Like,
but here is an interesting use for AI, right? Like you could create a simple AI avatar of young Jared who, Cecil's calling, redirect to your AI and have your AI notify you when you need to step in, right? Kind of like a driverless car, right? Yeah. It notifies you when we're leaving the highway so you can say your goodbyes and whatever, but it frees you up to do all sorts of other things while you're talking to Cecil. And Cecil's happy. You're happy because you're doing something else other than listening to Cecil. Yeah. And, you've done your good deed for the day. I don't know. Is that unethical?
I mean,
audience, let me know. Is that unethical to have an AI to carry on your conversations for you so you don't have to do them, so you can do other things?
I mean, if like at the cost of what, right? Like what you're
Yeah,
doing is you're giving a guy who needs somebody to talk to somebody to talk to. I mean,
right,
he doesn't have like sure he has access, but he doesn't really know how to access the same sort of entertainment that we access, right? Like we
right,
know we can fire up a podcast. Maybe get him on a podcast. Maybe he'll get passionate about something other than dog poop.
right.
See what he's into. Give him a podcast to listen to, and then start talking to him about the podcast. There you go.
That's well, he would never,
No,
he would
couldn't get
never.
him on it. Hey,
You would have to try to, I mean, he's got a regimented day that has no time for podcasts.
Yeah,
I think,
gotta go watch
his
the dogs.
wife's got to
Take a
go to
dump.
bingo. He's got to talk about bingo with her. And I mean, when would he fit in podcasts? And then there's crib tournaments.
True, I forgot about the crib.
Yeah.
No, I take it back.
Yeah. Anyways, you know what? And now I'm getting self-conscious that I'm losing our gay audience, and we got to move on. So here's something for you. Speaking of being the #1 gay podcast in Canada, let's move on to our #1 story, which is Trudeau comes to town. Trudeau came to Edmonton, and yeah, I mean, he came here. He didn't talk to the premier. I don't even know if the premier knew he was coming, but he came here to do, I think, a fundraiser. He went on Ryan Jesperson's show.
We should have had him on.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't reach out to the Tim Moen show.
Your ex-rival, arch nemesis.
Yeah, but okay, let's look at this video here. This is Trudeau confirming that he's going to run in the next election.
Are you 100% convinced that you're going to lead this party into the next election?
The challenge of the next election is going to be definitional in terms of what kind of country we are, which direction we want to go in. Do we stay anchored in science? Do we stay anchored in building for the long term?
Anchored in science. Okay. Where was the science behind locking down the economy, issuing CERB checks, making mandates? What science did you have? You had nothing. You had nothing. By the way, where's the science behind government even being a legitimate institution? I mean, I would accept an fMRI scan of the brain of a politician once he's elected into an office, growing an extra frontal lobe in his brain, bestowing him with extra rights that you and I don't have, as evidence that government is a legitimate institution. But you have no evidence of this. The science does not support government at all. There's no evidence to support government is even real. There's a lot of evidence to support people think government's real, because we got these guys who claim to be government acting like they can point guns at us and take our money from us and call it taxes. But there's no evidence that they're acting on behalf of anything that's real.
I wonder how many fuck Trudeau stickers he saw.
Oh man. You know what?
I would bet on that. I want to bet on the over under of how many fuck Trudeau stickers he saw in some jackass.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a big fan of these things. In fact, one of my daughters got me fuck Trudeau hot sauce for Christmas. It's the stocking stuffer, and you know, I thanked her for it, but it's not really my cup of tea. It's like
you're allowed to find something funny and not agree with it.
I know. I just don't find it that funny, to be honest. I don't know why.
I don't find the stickers funny. Like the concept of the stickers is funny. You know, it's like some hick with a Cummins or whatever truck. Yeah. Hey, fuck Trudeau. I'm gonna put this sticker on my truck because I'm cool. What's next?
I mean, you know what would be funnier? It would be, show us your tits, Trudeau. And just people yelling, show us your tits every time he appeared in an audience. That would be funny. It would be crass, but it would actually be funny because it'd be some witty to him. But just fuck
I want to see rednecks
just
with ironic humor, you know, like I want to see them with the ironic humor. So they'd be like, I'm going to fly a pride flag instead of this Confederate flag, just to make a joke on the social commentary. I want to see those rednecks, you know?
Right. Or flying a flag that's a pride flag that says fuck Trudeau on it. That would be funny.
There we go. I would host that guy every day of the week.
And that's why we're Canada's #1 gay podcast. All right, let's continue.
Do we make sure we're protecting vulnerable people and give them opportunities to contribute? Or Do we give in to the easy populism, anger, and division that is so running rampant in every society around the world?
Please.
That question, that core choice about who we are as Canadians is so fundamentally important that I could not be the person I am and choose to step away from this fight right now when it is so important, just because it's getting a little difficult, or people are wondering if they're not tired of me or whatever. You know what? Let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about the things that actually matter, and let's deliver them for people. And I like that conversation that needs to be had when the next election comes about the kind of country we're going to be. And yes, I will absolutely be part of it.
Oh boy.
So did he just say that he wasn't going to give in to populism because it's too important for him? I don't like, did he just admit that he's like trying to dictate us? I'm not going to give in to what the people want.
He's that's right. Well, I mean, look, populism is, you're somewhat a normie, so I'll explain what populism is.
Yeah, hit me with it.
Populism, you would think, means what's popular, but what it actually means historically is people who are anti-establishment. So there's left-wing and right-wing populism. So, the biggest populist movement right now is by far right-wing populism, and that's like MAGA movement. But in the past, it's been the left wing that's been more populist and against the establishment. But right now, it seems like the right is more anti-establishment than the left. The left, I mean, the establishment is basically left, so that they've got the establishment. So the populism is kind of the undercurrent right now. Now, I don't know if you remember in the 90s, we had the Reform Party. That was a populist party. They kind of rode a wave of populism, gained support, and that's how they came into fruition. People's Party of Canada is kind of riding that wave of populism right now. And Pierre Poilievre, or whatever his name is, I can't pronounce it, he's kind of adopting some populist message, right? For example, he just recently said that he believes that women's spaces should not be for biological men. And so the left-wing media is all a tizzy about that. But of course, the Conservatives are a little bit behind on the populism because they let other people like the People's Party and Danielle Smith kind of pave the way for them there. That's populism. It's just anti-establishment. So it's anti-vaxxers. It's pushing back against mandates. So it's easy to characterize the populists as kind of dim-witted, anti-science people. That's what Trudeau does.
How can you say that? All the non-Trudeau guys listen to Joe Rogan. They're all about science.
Well, yeah, right. Well, but he would characterize Rogan as a populist too, right? I mean, he's got populist scientists on, like Robert Malone, who's has a heterodox view of the establishment science that's out there, right? He's got a different opinion.
Got to go against the grain.
Yeah, it goes against the grain. So Trudeau, and if you listen to his interview with Ryan Jesperson, it's very telling because he promotes, for example, the mainstream media. He says that there needs to be, need to make the media mainstream again, essentially, that CBC and CTV and Global, this is where Canadians should be getting their news from, not from the Joe Rogans and the Tim Moen shows and the whatever, right? And it's dividing Canada, blah, blah, blah. Of course, the populist side of things is, Trudeau, you're the one dividing Canada. You're the one that's telling us that we're worthless, that the thing we produce, the oil, the gas, the hard work, you're against everything we stand for. You're trying to run our lives. You're imposing mandates on us, vaccine passports and all this stuff. Like, you've declared war on us. And so this is a reaction to that. But Trudeau thinks he's the savior of Canada. There's some more interesting things too. I found his comments about oil and gas kind of interesting. So let's listen to that now. Let me see if I can share that. All right, here we go.
Governments should get out of the way of Albertans actually innovating and creating that better future.
Government should get out of the way. So
is that a punchline? Was he joking?
Wow. I mean, look, here he is. He's in Alberta.
Pandering.
He's Alberta. He's trying to pander. He's trying to connect with Albertans who think government should get out of the way. by telling them what they want to hear, but ignoring the fact that he is the government that is in our way. I mean, he's, this government is not a big fan of us wanting to ship our oil, export our oil out, and he's imposing
shutting down
tax
the
on us.
power
He's
grid,
punishing.
closing down coal power plants.
So let's hear what he has to say about this.
That they can work and build and deliver. If you can build a pipeline for oil sands oil, you can build a pipeline for hydrogen. If you can build the technology necessary for an oil sands refinery, you can build the technology necessary for hydrogen's plant. These are things that Albertans will have great jobs in the future if the Alberta government gets out of its ideological opposition to doing things that are good for.
Okay, so
oh boy,
so
oh boy, I'm
boiling. Let's dissect this a little bit. Okay, how is government getting in the way? If someone wants to build a hydrogen plant or a hydrogen pipeline, how is the government stopping them? What he really means here is that the government isn't taking money from you and I and redistributing it to oil companies to build hydrogen plants and build pipelines. And so his idea is to have government impose its will on people to move us towards these things. And he is framing it. I mean, and this is a trick that the liberals, progressives, the left do all the time. They talk about all the subsidies that oil and gas get, and they do get some. But if you look at it, the lion's share of what they call subsidies is actually just a tax break. It's just they pay lower taxes than equivalent businesses or corporations or individuals. And that is what they consider a subsidy. Now, that's a very loose term for subsidy. To me, a subsidy is a redistribution. It's taking money from me and giving it to an oil company. But instead, what they're doing is just making it easier for an oil. It's actually getting out of the way of oil and gas. Well, now what he's saying is that not subsidizing and not imposing its will on people is government getting in the way. What? It's the exact opposite. It's like opposite world. Anyways, what are your impressions of what he said so far?
I mean, a lot of this goes over my head for sure, but like what he's saying at face value kind of pisses me off. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, just like Alberta getting it out of its way, and basically it just really reinforces. Now I'm like, I really want to know how many fuck Trudeau stickers he saw before he came on here and said shit to the internet, man.
Well, no one knew he was coming, right? I mean, this was a surprise visit.
He probably can't announce that he's coming.
Oh, no. I mean,
I'm willing to bet if he announced, it would have
been chaos. It would have been bumper to bumper, fuck Trudeau.
I was actually curious. I was like, I'm thinking in my head, like, what is the the Canadian Secret Service? Like, what do we have? Like, does he have protection all the time? Obviously, but to what extent, I wonder.
Yeah, it's a section of the RCMP. But here, let's continue what it's saying here.
Workers, good for the planet, maybe not good for classic oil sands companies, except that they're also investing massively in decarbonization and renewables. This is the dynamic that, quite frankly, Albertans are getting fooled by right-wing politicians on.
I can already hear Premier Smith's response to this and the oil companies' CEO's responses to this. And they're going to say, did Justin Trudeau just tell us that government ideology needs to get out of the way of innovation in the oil sands? And I know that they're going to tear their hair out because they feel that it's you that's been imposing liberal ideology onto the oil sands.
So what have we imposed on the oil sands?
You know what? We got literally dozens, if not hundreds of questions people wanted us to ask you. And a lot of people working in traditional oil and gas still don't believe. As much as you pound on this table, as much as you talk about the personal political risk that you took investing in TMX, they don't feel like you've had the industry's back. They don't feel like you've had Alberta's back. And I don't
think the oil industry has had the back of the oil sands workers. I don't think the industry, by dragging its heels on decarbonization in some sectors. Some of the oil sands companies have been really innovative and are leading the way on that, and that is great. And we are encouraging them, and we're investing with them, and we're supporting them in decarbonization investments. But those who are crossing their hands and saying, you know what, the world's still going to need oil for another decade or so, another few decades. It's still going to need every drop that we can produce. So why would we raise our costs right now and invest in innovation when we can just do the same things we've been doing for decades and make profits? And the fact that we're going to leave people with a dirty mess and no jobs because we haven't prepared for the jobs of the future, well, that's a problem for the next generation in this community.
Okay, show me one dirty mess. Show me one dirty mess.
Well, there are orphan wells, right, that he may be talking about.
Orphan wells that are reclaimed by reclamation majors and like environmental engineers.
Maybe. I know the government is spending, I think they're spending some money on some wells, right? Because some companies have gone tits up. They left an orphan well and it's just sitting there.
And I wonder who made them go tits up.
Right.
Just like,
yeah. Well, I mean, a couple things to comment on here, right? One is, first of all, he's wearing a rolled up shirt as if he's a member of the working class somehow, which I find
he's pandering. He's worse than Luke Bryan coming in here trying to talk about trucks and girls with big tits. Like,
oh boy.
Anyways.
Yeah, okay. He's talking about how, I mean, the message here is that, look, we need government to direct technology into the future, right? Oil sands companies aren't going to do it. They're not interested in future technologies. It's only the government that is, and the government knows how to pick them, pick those technologies, choose them, and which ones ought to be getting funding and which ones ought to be getting punished, and that they are smarter than the market, and they're smarter than entrepreneurs that actually build things. That is the underlying message here that Trudeau is sending, and you know, it's a message that a lot of Canadians agree with, frankly, certainly those on the left, but also conservatives. Conservatives, a lot of them don't mind government directing the economy, right? They believe in things like tariffs and trade restrictions and prohibitions on certain industries and, you know, supply management, dairy cartels and different things like that. So, you know, the antidote to this, of course, is markets and private property. The other thing he talks about, and he makes some interesting points, is, you know, they're going to leave messes. Okay, well, that just means that we either need, like, again, we can trace a lot of this back to government fuckery, because let's say you have private land, and you don't want an oil company drilling on your land. Or maybe an oil company comes to you and says, look, we want to drill on your land. This happened to my dad. We had oil company come and want to drill on our land. And he could have said no. I mean, they were offering him a certain amount of money. And if he had just turned them down, eventually they could have gone to government and gotten an order, right? This happens all the time.
Yeah, they get
appropriation orders and different things like that, where that resource that is underneath our farm belongs to the crown. At least in their opinion, it does. And so that we need to get at it. You are going to let this oil company get at it at a fair market rate. We'll expropriate land. We'll do whatever we can to get at it. So now you've got an oil. So that informs the agreement you have with this oil company. Now, in a free market, what would happen is you'd be like, okay, I've seen this story play out before. I've seen what happens when these wells get orphaned and my land is fucked, and you've abandoned this well here when your company goes tits up. And so what you would do is drop a contract that says, look, there needs to be a certain, you know, whatever, $5 million put in escrow in case of this contingency. And once you've pulled up your rigging, you're done extracting the oil, you'll return that land to a pristine state of nature the way it was before, or that money becomes mine and I will use it to reclaim the land and get rid of your shit. I mean, it's a simple program, but because so now the government has implemented itself into this equation. There's no obligation at all for an oil company that's expropriated your land, that the government's expropriated your land on behalf of, to, you know, follow your wishes as a property owner. And we see it all the time in the oil sands area, where the proper property owners, I would say, are First Nations in a lot of the leases that the oil sands are developing. And they only get paid lip service, right? They don't get that to have a substantial say in how that land is developed. And if I were the property owner, I would say, look, you can develop this oil sands lease, put $3 billion in. Once you've put $3 billion in escrow, and I have your word that you'll return that to a pristine state of nature, and then I'll let you go to another block of land. And I want to make sure that I am as rich as a Saudi king, while also preserving the land for my children and grandchildren, so that they can hunt and fish on it like they have traditionally. That's what I would do if I were the property owner. But of course, those kind of agreements aren't allowed to be made because the government inserts itself into the equation.
I just think the level of, like, when he talks about like making messes, or we talk about abandoned wells, like, sure, there's abandoned wells and sure there's leases that, but like, it's not like they're going in there, for the most part. Obviously there's cases, but it's not like they're going in there and they're completely disrupting the ecosystem. Like, I used to work in basically a reclamation service where we'd build leases for Chevron, and they're putting in things before they even start drilling. They're putting in like things called like geomesh and geocell that biodegrades. So you lay it all out, and then you cover it in gravel and natural soil that's like engineered based on samples and everything. These companies are doing all that so that they cover it up with gravel, they build their lease, build their pad, and then when they're gone, they can cover everything back up with the original soil, the same type of soil, right. And then they have tree planters come in. So I want to know the amount of, like, the budget that they're spending on that, as opposed to like the budget that they could be spending on other things like these carbon fixations that he's talking about, right?
Right.
Or even if they're going under, like the companies that are going under, I want to know the amount of, like, because now the government's on the hook for that reclamation. And I know they're doing that too. But I want to know the amount of tax money and the amount of like fees and everything that they're spending on that's bankrupting these companies. Like, how much of that is going back into the reclamation? Because I guarantee you Chevron's doing a better job of it than the government is. And they're spending 3 times as much on it than the government is. So it's just like seems super hypocritical.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing he talks about in there is leaving these workers untrained for the future, right? As if, again, the government knows what kind of technologies are going to be prevalent in the future, what kind should be. And like they're centrally managing the economy and the workforce and everything else. That's not how things work. Look, when there's a demand for hydrogen, I mean, people will train on it. They'll get jobs in it. They'll create
you're gonna need welders. You're gonna need instrument techs. You're gonna need operators. You're gonna need engineers. All of these are like covered with scholarships and bursaries from these big companies like Dow, or again, Chevron or Shell or whoever it is, right? Like, they're all giving out bursaries so that they can hire these like educated employees in the future. It's just
exactly.
And they're switching, right? Like, they're switching to hydrogen, and like they are making steps that way.
Let's finish this off. There's just like 30 seconds left here.
My job as a company, as a shareholder, is to draw profits out right now. That is what is hurting oil sands workers. And they've been fooled by people who are saying, oh, no, the climate change is a liberal or a Chinese plot. You don't have to worry about it. Just keep doing things exactly as they were a decade ago, 2 decades ago. That's not preparing for the future that Albertans, like all Canadians, know is changing.
Womp womp.
All right. How do I stop that thing? Yeah. So again, you know, talking about centrally managing the economy, talking about did he say at the end there?
Something about what stuck with me was something about like Albertans being stuck 2 decades ago worrying about emissions, and that again.
Well, he made a good point about companies be holding to like the annual or quarterly earnings reports and stuff like that, profits and different things like that. And again, a lot of that is driven by by government regulation, right? But in the finance sector. And certainly there are some negative unintended consequences of that, but he would never look at the root causes, right? He would never look at why is it that, for example, if I own a farm, I'm driven by profit, but I'm also thinking about the future of the land. I'm thinking about not just extracting everything I can from it this season and saying to hell with the future. I'm thinking about, I need to do this in a sustainable way. I need to leave some fields fallow. I need to recycle things. I need to think about carbon cycles and nitrogen cycles. I need to think about all these things over a long term, because I'm thinking about my kids and my grandkids as I put this on. So why is it that a farmer, someone who's an actual property owner, is concerned about the long-term vision and doing things in that way, not just extracting what he can right now in the moment? And why isn't an oil company doing that? Well, that has a lot to do with how they're funded, the public financing regulations, creating this cycle, this loop. And so there's a legitimate concern there. But what you don't do is add on regulations to deal with the negative consequences of unintended consequences of previous regulations, because that just creates a whole whack-a-mole of more unintended consequences.
Well, and to that, I would say, like, show me a well that was drilled by one of the big successful companies that they didn't plan on being able to make sustainable profits for in the future. Like, they're not just drilling holes, taking the oil out and then leaving if it's going to be a dead well in 3 years, right? They want 10,
Right.
15, 20 years worth of oil out of there.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah. And then again, it has to do also with the property owners, right? Does the oil company own that land? No. Well, who does?
Right,
Well, either the
Crown
government
land,
does by Crown land, in which case the government needs to be acting as judicious landowners, or a farmer or rancher owns that land, in which case they are prohibited and restricted from what kind of covenants they can enter into with an oil company in terms of reclamation and protecting their property for generations to come. So everything bad traces back to government, and Trudeau wants to add more of it. Okay, let's see what our premier has to say about Justin's Vineyard. There's a clip here I want to show you guys.
So despite this coming year's predicted global economic slowdown, I believe our province is on the cusp of an unprecedented and prolonged energy resource boom, one that will include both hundreds of billions in investment and tens of thousands of new jobs, not only in oil and gas production, but also in designing and building the most advanced emission reduction technologies on Earth. It is going to be an exciting time for our province and for Canada, especially once we finally get a federal government that acts like a strategic partner rather than a delusional adversary.
I'm fighting words.
Yeah, fighting words. You know, I like hearing that from Danielle Smith. I mean, look, I know she's portrayed by the media and a lot of left-wing pundits and a lot of kind of normies as a ditz or something, like an airhead. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff she does. You know, she just announced, for example, that they were proposing an Alberta income tax cut. That was one of her campaign promises. She just announced, I think, that's going to be delayed a year. They want to start building up a heritage trust fund similar to what we had in the past. It's similar to Norway's oil fund, right? That allows them to cover things. You know, we can argue the pros and cons of all that, but at least she sounds relatively intelligent, and she seems to have Alberta's best interests at heart. And, you know, you get the impression that she's supporting oil and gas. She's not trying to centrally plan things the way Justin Trudeau is. She's, you know, so, and she's not opposed to clean technology in any sense, just that doesn't seem to have the same heart on to fund it and subsidize it that Trudeau does.
Well, I will say, I finished, like, I did electrical engineering tech, and I worked in the oil field, and like that, so I would have been like 2015, 16, and all the way up to like 2020 or whenever I started getting into our line of work. It was all oil field based stuff, and I couldn't find a job for the life of me. Like, it was everything. Like, I was getting like like labor-based work. There was no education for me in my line of work. Didn't matter, right? Like I couldn't find anything. I would have to move to like the one job I did get offered. I would have had to move to like Abbotsford, I think it was, for like robotic cow milking,
Right.
which I mean,
and Jared, the government let you down by not teaching you how to code and not preparing you for future jobs. And now you're living in poverty because the government didn't prepare you. And
no,
you had no ability to prepare yourself. You couldn't figure out how to get a job or retrain or do something else. Right.
I know. If only the government taught me all the problem solving skills I need to survive in life.
Right. If only they had public indoctrination. Anyways, okay. Trudeau also made another announcement. One more thing on Trudeau, and then we'll move on. All right, here's an article. Justin Trudeau commits $175 million in funding for Edmonton to help build affordable housing. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced Wednesday $175 million in funding to fast-track more than 5,200 new housing units in Edmonton over the next 3 years. We're changing the way housing gets built in this country, Trudeau said at an apartment complex construction site in southwest Edmonton. The money is to flow through the Federal Housing Accelerator program and be used to eliminate barriers to getting the homes built. Trudeau said the funds would create more housing options in the city, including more rentals, affordable apartments, and housing near university and college campuses. One of the challenges we're facing right now with this housing crisis is over the past decades, the federal government of different stripes stepped back from the business of ensuring that houses were properly built right across the country in affordable ways, meeting the supply needs, meeting the growth of the country, Trudeau said.
I thought I was here with him. I thought he was with us on the pod. It felt real to me. It felt authentic.
Yeah. Anyways, the article goes on. So they're redistributing wealth from you and I and every other taxpayer to build some affordable housing in a city, by the way, that has some of the most affordable housing in Canada right now, to be honest.
Definitely. Well, I saw a clip or there's a news article about there's this student from UBC and he had one class a week or something. And it was more affordable for him to live in Calgary and fly to UBC once a week than it would be for him to live in Vancouver.
Yes. Yeah, but I guess, send us tax dollars, help build some cheap housing because we need more low income housing or something. I mean, we need somewhere where these poopy pants drug addicts can lay their head, right? We need some rental property for them to destroy. They destroy it at a pretty fast clip. So we need to build it so that they can destroy it.
We got to keep building more.
Yeah, we got to keep that steady flow of.
Let's turn this place into Compton.
Like a heroin supply chain straight into the vein of Edmonton to keep it addicted to that.
Well, I mean, we've already got it, so now we just need to resupply, right? We just need to keep it coming in, right? Maybe a couple big contracts, a couple new dealers.
Exactly.
See where it goes.
All right, let's take a break and talk about something a little lighter.
Brother, you got me worked up there, Tim.
Oh man, I tell you, we do that. We do that.
Podcast, yeah.
All right, did you guys see this officer who got in a gunfight with an acorn?
Officer Acorn reporting for duty.
This is the moment a sheriff's deputy mistook
got a nice roll there.
His vehicle for gun.
What is he shooting? Is what I want to know.
He's shooting into his car at
the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office in Florida. Fired his weapon at his own police car, where a suspect was handcuffed inside. Here's that moment again, slowed down and zoomed in. You can see what the sheriff says was an acorn.
Lock this guy up and take away the gun.
Fellow officer on the scene, Sergeant Beth Roberts, also began firing at the vehicle.
Right there.
And she just
the deputies arrested the individual in the SUV earlier after his girlfriend claimed he had stolen her car and texted her threats, including a photo that appeared to show a silencer for a gun in the car.
Pat him down, please.
But body cam footage shows that the individual had been searched and no weapons were found before he was placed into the SUV.
I might have hit my vest.
The person in the car was not physically armed. Hernandez resigned while under investigation, according to a statement from the sheriff's office. That probe determined he violated policy, but there was no cause for criminal charges against him. It also found Roberts' use of deadly force was reasonable.
My legs went numb when it hit me.
CNN has reached out to Hernandez for comment. The sheriff says he's limited in what he can say because of possible litigation, but said,
"We're actually going to use this particular case as a potential thing that we need to watch out for to make sure that we never put someone's life in jeopardy again."
Jesus Christ. Well, I guess they can be
absurd.
They can be thankful that both officers were terrible shots. That hail of gunfire missed the victim in the back. And the Acorn got away unscathed as well.
Like he searched him. Like, you put him in there. What do you mean you think he has a gun?
My God, they do have. I mean, they get scared real easy, don't they? They get worked right up on these.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's warrant to be worked on sometimes, but holy shit, dude!
Yeah, but
one guy.
You're signing up for a job that, I mean, you would think you would hire level-headed people that could handle a little bit of stress, right?
Well, you know that about first responders is we're all level-headed.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of us more than other, but I don't know. Maybe what we ought to do is develop a personality test for emergency services so that
they have it. They have it. I had to do one in. I had to do one in Leduc for.
Well, I had to do one too for different jobs, but the problem is they don't know what they're looking for, right? Like, there's no. They will say they're taking the personality test to try to gather data on what personalities, that they can use later, right? So you've done a personality test and it turns out you develop mental illness or flip your lid and go postal. Maybe they can find some pattern in the personality test that would be common amongst people that develop mental illness or whatever. But good grief.
I mean, this guy. He's been watching too many YouTube videos.
I guess. I don't know.
All right. Yeah. I've been around guns. Even a silenced gun would not sound even close to an Acorn hitting the roof.
Jeez.
Definitely doesn't warrant a mag dump if you ask me. But hey, what do I know?
I can just imagine that. Yeah. I mean, you got to resign after that, right? Like, even if you're not going to get fired, you couldn't show your face in the office again.
No,
I mean,
definitely not.
The kind of
desk pop.
Oh, man.
I did my first desk pop.
Yeah, just desk pop. Yeah, that's right. Was that off of the other guys, or?
Yeah. I'm a peacock, Captain. You gotta let me fly.
All right, let's watch some more videos. Let's get a laugh at some other cops here.
Oh, this one's hilarious.
All right.
Doesn't look bad to start, right? We got the guy running away.
The guy.
Oh, car's not in park.
Oh, shit.
Guy's looking in the car still. Puts away the
K9
taser.
units coming in. Uh-oh.
Oh, here comes the dog.
Oh, shit.
Here comes the dog.
Oh, that's gotta hurt.
Oh, now we're jumping through the ditch.
Yeah, these guys don't look like they're the fastest runners either. Eh?
The car is still driving into oncoming traffic. Oh, rear end.
Rear
end. We got a guy getting out here. Yeah.
Oh, almost
not done yet.
Your partner.
Not done yet.
Oh boy. Oh shit. Oh my goodness.
What a drive.
They're ramped right up. I mean, what did this guy do? Is he a serial killer? Is he
disclaimer, all parties and defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law.
Oh boy, here comes the semi. Oh no. Did he just? Oh my God!
Out of there.
Jesus Christ, that would have been.
What
nasty.
is going on? He's still going. Like, just tackle the guy.
The dog's like running with him. It's like, where am I going? Where am I going? Who should?
And the guy still tackles him, man. Like, you're not a hero.
Oh man, there you go, dog. Bite him. Bite him.
And now the dog gets him.
Now the dog gets him.
This guy
that dog needs some work, man.
This guy.
That dog is like
scot-free. I'm telling you.
That's what my dog would do.
That's exactly how my dog would respond. Maybe let the other dog have a shot at it.
It's like, dog, we got him down already. You're not helping.
Yeah, this guy's, I mean, I don't know what he did, but his family's getting paid. Like, all the legal fees are covered for sure.
Yeah.
Right here.
He's got to work on his cardio.
Yeah, well, he's got better cardio than those cops, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know what their standard of training is.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a tough watch.
I'm either gonna put work just fine. They ran.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, there we go. There's another
That's hilarious.
moment of levity, courtesy of the Keystone Cops.
Gives me a lot of faith in our law enforcement.
Yes.
I mean, good news is none of that was in Canada, so I think there is a little bit more stipulation here, believe it or not. But
right,
that was incredible.
All right,
I need a breakdown. You know, I need a breakdown. I want Stauffer up there giving me the play by play.
Yeah, we need that. What's that Aussie guy?
Yeah. Aussie Man reviews.
Aussie Man to do a play-by-play of it.
We need the Manning brothers to get up there and give us a play-by-play.
Okay, one more story that we got to cover, and that is BC serial killer Robert Pickton, eligible for day parole Thursday. I feel like this guy just went to prison and he's already eligible for day parole.
Which one is this? This is the
okay.
pig
Robert
guy?
Pickton is the guy that owned a pig farm. He was charged with killing 26, claimed to kill 49. He's eligible for day parole Thursday. Supreme Court of Canada found Pickton guilty of 6 counts of second-degree murder after being arrested in 2002. He was sentenced to life impossible with no chance of parole for 25 years, the longest sentence available. Because he was already serving the maximum sentence, first-degree murder charges involving 20 other women were stayed. He's eligible for day parole February 22nd and for full parole in 2027.
I mean, I don't know if this guy should be allowed out.
He had a pig farm. He fed these
sex workers
to
correct term
his
now.
Pigs.
That's, I mean, that's you gotta think.
It's crazy. There's got to be a movie being made about this at some point.
Oh, for sure. I think it's called Soft
Lands level stuff. But the guy looks like, I mean, look at him. Man, oh man.
He looks like the kind of guy to feed a bunch of sex workers to his pigs.
And there was something too I remember about his brother being a Robert Pickton's brother.
Like, what do we think this guy's gonna do when he gets out?
Oh yeah, he was convicted of sexual assault in 92. Given 30 days parole. Let's see what it says about. Oh, that's David Francis Pickton.
Being fined $1,000 and 30 days probation is nuts. That's like a Red Dead Redemption punishment.
Right. Oh. Okay, this is Robert Pickton's brother. Serial killer Robert Pickton's brother accused of threatening to chop up sex assault victim. So it seems to run in the family.
Oh boy. Yeah, let that guy out. We got to do a song. We got to make him do a song, right? Like the sex offender shuffle.
Yeah. Anyways. And I think there's some, I want to say there was some political connections too. Like there's some conspiracy behind it. I can't remember what it is though, but anyways, that was that. Hey, I watched this movie the other day, The Marvels. You see this movie?
Yeah, I watch it. I'm a Marvel fan. I mean, well, I was until probably like a year or two.
Garbage.
It was the worst. It was so bad.
I didn't get it at all.
I mean, I think like because they're leaning into the whole like reality thing and like fourth dimension thing, right? And Captain Marvel's powers are all basically like, I don't know, I guess celestial powers, if anything. I don't know. It's just insane to see the direction of the way Marvel is headed. It's crazy too because they're coming off like they had a dynasty team, right? Like the
Right.
original Avengers, and then coming up, they're still putting out good shows like Kang, or not Kang, Loki.
Oh
Loki,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you've watched that, but that was really good, really well received. I was
Right.
excited, and then now I'm seeing what they're putting out. Like, isn't there another one too, Madame Web?
Oh yeah, Madame Web. Yeah.
That's
I don't know
not
if
doing
that's
super
Marvel's.
hot.
Yeah,
Is it?
it's supposed to be absolutely.
Might not be.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like when they get they kind of did the same thing with the Star Wars
Yeah,
thing too,
true.
right? It's like
Yeah.
Disney seems to take these great franchises and turn them woke or whatever, try to get preachy with
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
weird, like it's like if there's a female character, she never has to struggle at all. She just, because if they actually show her struggling or show her having faults,
That's not strong.
then
That's not very girl power of them.
right. So there's like no struggle at all. They're just kicking ass and
Mhm.
doing it without trying, kind of thing. And it's like we want to see the hero's journey. We want to see
Yeah.
them down at their lowest and kicked in the gut and like have to crawl their way back out of it and overcome adversity and spend. I mean, Luke Skywalker had to go to a friggin' swamp planet, find a little green man and like do flips with them and go into a tree and like levitate shit in a swamp and
He had
spend
to get his
do all
plane out of
sorts
the
of
swamp.
cardio and like there's a training montage usually of this stuff, right? Meanwhile, his Rey or whatever, this chick in the latest Star Wars, she could expertly wield a lightsaber and use the
Immediately.
Force immediately. And
Took out my dog's namesake.
if you want us to get behind these characters, make them have to go through some shit, like make them believable and I don't know, like a real person, not
I mean,
just
for the Marvels, like a political commentary aside, the acting was comical. Like, not, I don't think I'm sure they meant for it to be funny, but not in the way that it was
Right.
received as funny. Like, a lot of the lines, I'm like, there's no way the script writers sat down, wrote that, and they're like, yeah, this is good. This is good. We're gonna
Yeah.
run that. The people are gonna love it. I'm like there's a scene where Captain Marvel is like, she's like, no, I was bad and I did a bad thing, and then everybody else is like, yeah, well, you did a bad thing. It's not the end of the world. And it's like, well, it quite literally could be the end of the world. Like, we don't have to be all supportive right now. Maybe we just go solve the problem. And it's like, no, girl power. Let's go get them together as a team. Like,
yeah. Don't worry about almost killing. Well, I mean, there's
don't worry about causing the downfall of the universe and maybe all of our collective demise. It's fine. We're girls. We'll fix it.
Fair enough. Hey, listen, maybe we should start doing movie reviews. We should actually pick a movie and take some notes and present it here so that people, if you guys want to hear us review a movie, drop in the comments what movie you'd like us to review or what book you'd like us to read and get our thoughts on. And we'll do the watching for you so you don't have to. We'll take one for the team. That's what we do as firefighters. We run into burning buildings. You send us a hot movie that's a hot mess of a movie, we'll run into it and we'll sacrifice ourselves and throw ourselves on that grenade for you, let you know exactly what you missed out on.
If you send a book, I mean, I don't know if you picked up, I'm not the quickest reader. I gotta get my buddy over here.
You can get an audiobook.
I get my buddy over here. He reads it for me. I can't figure
out
the
Cole's notes or something,
So it takes me a minute. It'll probably be like 2 or 3 weeks after you send me a book that I gotta read.
Maybe just send us movies for now.
Yeah, movies, TV shows, YouTube shorts, TikTok, say anything.
Amen. All right. Anything else, young Jared? What you got on the go?
Still got the board in the barn in the works. We're making leaps and bounds. Got a camera, working on a studio, working on somebody to click the button that goes camera one. So
nice.
With due time.
Excellent. Well, I got nothing on the go. I got nothing. I'm running for union vice president, hoping to make some changes.
Vote for Tim.
Yeah, vote for Moen. Anyways, see you guys next week. Peace.